Welcome to Ultra Gaiden, the web series where I take a look at movies and shows tangentially related to the Ultraman franchise. And today's subject is a little different. It was 1975. Japan's superhero boom had crossed the sea into Hong Kong. Inspired by the masked heroism of Ultraman and Kamen Rider, Shaw Brothers Studios gifted the world the Super Inframan. Apologies in advance if I mispronounce any names. This is my first time covering a Chinese film for Ultra Gaiden. Directed by Shan Hua, Inframan was Hong Kong's first big science fiction movie. One of the three Shaw Brothers founders, Run Run Shaw, set out to produce a film that would rival American productions, using the Japanese concept of a transforming masked superhero as the vehicle. While definitely derivative in that sense, it's evident just from watching one scene that this movie is a freak of nature. I'm not going to act like an expert on martial arts movies. At most, I've seen a couple old Jackie Chan adventures, and for the sake of comparison with the absolutely fantastic American localization, I've also seen Tiger and Crane Fist.
That's a lot of nuts!
I also watched a few martial arts movies to get in the mood, but I'm saying that I'm not qualified to compare Inframan to other martial arts movies. The best I can do is point at things and say, hey, that's pretty cool. I like that.
For success, it's essential you have Thunderball fists. I can have such a thing. That's right. Thunderball fist.
I'll be reviewing the film with its English dub instead of its original language because it's funnier this way.
If you find yourself frozen by liquid ice, your missiles are designed to thaw you out.
Emerging from a volcano after years of dormancy, the evil Princess Dragon Mom has arrived to murder everyone. Without letting a moment go to waste, she and her army of prehistoric monsters with supercomputers for brains start laying waste to nearby cities through questionably obtained footage from another movie.
Escort him back to Princess Dragon Mom!
I hate to ruin the magic, but in the original Chinese, she goes by Princess Elzebub. You know, like Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies and all that. She's still Dragon Mom to me.
Condition his memory. Blend it with the scientific intelligence. Increase reception and eradicate resistance.
Our protagonist is Lei Ma, a member of the Defense Force / motorcycle gang, the Science Team. In order to fight Dragon Mom's army of goons, he volunteers to let a scientist turn him into the titular cyborg superhero, powered by a mini nuclear reactor and solar energy. He's a hybrid. Inframan's design was a choice. The big compound bug eyes, the sculpted silver face with human features. I'd credit his design to the combined fever dreams of Shotaro Ishinomori and Tol Narita, if it wasn't already credited to Johnson Cao, a fairly prolific art director in the Hong Kong scene. It's a delightfully bizarre blend of rider and man. The giant life preserver shoulder pads that ride high on the neck area, they're, needless, but I'm glad they're here. I wonder if Michael Jackson saw this and had an epiphany. Very charming superhero design. Inframan can do what you'd expect. X-ray vision, flying, punching people really hard. But then the movie throws curveballs like his rocket punches and backflipping on clouds. Of course he's got a beam, and of course he uses that pose. The filmmakers knew what they were doing with that one. What follows can best be described as a compilation film for a show that doesn't exist. A crazy good show, too. It's a lost cause trying to explain this as a narrative. It has to be on a scene-by-scene basis, because things just happen. It's structured around incidents that all lead to an explosive kung fu fight with a monster or two. Or 4. Or a dozen. Like, holy hell, what a stacked kaiju cast. This could have been a 12-episode season. I can't pick a favorite, I love all of these mumbling goofballs. The suits are on par with what Kamen Rider was putting out at the time. As in, they look bad, but they've got character. Most of the monsters here were designed by Michio Mikami, who worked with P Productions, Daiei, Toho, and even assisted Eiji Tsuburaya. He was reportedly frustrated with the Hong Kong team's recreation of his monster designs. I don't blame him. One of them happens to look like the crappy plant monster from Revenge of Dr. X. I can't believe I'm referencing that.
You do as I say, or you'll be dropped into a bottomless pit.
Princess Dragon Mom is such an anomaly of a villain. Like Rita Repulsa, but Zoolander wasn't even a thing yet. From both origins and her giant cone boobs, she's an enigma. And the set design for her lair has so many enjoyably weird details. I love just pausing and looking at whatever is on screen. Why the swirly background? Why the dragon head spitting water like it's a kiddie park? The production design here is so good.
Be silent, all of you. I've opened the surface of the earth. It's time to attack.
With all the running around and fighting in dirt roads and quarries, Dragon Mom having an army of disposable grunts who all just love grunting. And the whole premise of Inframan being a cyborg, it takes a lot from Kamen Rider. It has an equal number of Ultra elements. The Defense Force is unambiguously inspired by the attack teams seen in the Ultra shows of the time. They've got snazzy outfits and their base has blinking lights and everything. Inframan's seemingly infinite trampoline jumping is also taking some editing cues from Taro's entrances as well. Disappointingly, he only grows to giant size in one scene. I only now just noticed how they did the effect too. He's coming towards the camera on a dolly or something with wheels, and it's being cleverly hidden. That's so cool, I like that a lot. But yeah, the fact that he only does this once is just one of this film's many eccentricities. So yeah, Inframan borrows a lot from Toei and Tsuburaya. Sometimes it steals. I'll get into that later. What it brings to the table that's entirely its own thing is its action. Those Hong Kong action movie sensibilities. This is a movie that hits the ground running, barely stopping to take a breath in favor of non-stop action. Whenever you think it's slowing down, it does something like that. The very first scene, for example. Let's go over it. A bus full of younglings is being taken somewhere when, all of a sudden, a giant dragon passes by overhead. I think that's supposed to be Dragon Mom. It hits the ground, dissolves, then a giant earthquake destroys an entire city. If you go into this movie with the intent of deconstructing how any of this happens, don't. It's got its own internal logic that you kinda need to accept at face value. Inframan's backflipping on clouds. That's the level this movie's on. And it's probably not for everyone, but I'm having a really good time with this. The editing in these action scenes is so tight. Everyone is screaming. Then in the middle of processing what I'm even seeing, it has the confidence, the balls, to show Inframan backflipping 3 times to do a sparking heel finisher. It's fast, it's frantic. It's apparent that this is from a team that knew how to make a good fight scene. God, it's so fun. The blog Cool Ass Cinema describes the shooting of Super Inframan as, quote, hectic. The number of pyrotechnics used in the film was the subject of concern, for one. If the guy responsible for this explosion was seconds too early, then this stunt would have gone horribly wrong. But from what I've read, nobody was actually hurt too seriously. The actress playing old Hand Eyes over here nearly got her face burned while filming the climax. Inframan's costume set on fire during one of the scenes where his feet shoot sparks. But that's it as far as injuries go. Which is a shock, honestly. It seems like there would have been more. As ridiculous as this movie can be, this was considered a big milestone for Hong Kong special effects at the time. Big expensive Panavision cameras were brought in from America to better sell the look of the movie. It was also shot in 100 days on a budget that was stretched thin. As for the marketing, it's, that's the Superman logo. They just used the Superman logo. In the interest of not misrepresenting the Hong Kong film industry in the 70s and 80s, I'll say there were movies, not every movie, but there were movies that played fast and loose with copyrighted elements, either out of misunderstanding of what they were allowed to use or just not caring. Sometimes it can be funny. Nothing in Inframan is as bad as Thailand director Sempote Sands claiming he owned Ultraman and delaying its official westward expansion for the next 50 years. But the movie uses a clip or two from Submersion of Japan. The schematics for Inframan are remarkably similar to Kamen Rider. and it cribs a couple stingers from Ultra Series composer Toru Fuyuki. This recycled Ultra 7 and Mirror Man music can be heard in the original language too. Parts of Frankie Chan's original score was removed for the English dub, but not the actual infringing parts. Oops. I've been told it's because Shaw Brothers distributed the infamous Chayo Hanuman movie, which would have given them access to a lot of the Ultraman music that's here. It also explains why it keeps cutting off abruptly. It's from another movie. I really don't want to blow the amount of copyrighted elements out of proportion, since a lot of what's here is the movie's own creation, but it is at the very least questionable. Co-starring in this film is one Bruce Lee, who is now more commonly known for his appearances in Brucesploitation movies. I don't know how much of a crossover there is in the kaiju and martial arts fandoms, so I'll explain this the best I can. In the 70s, there were a number of movies made in the wake of the actual death of martial arts movie star Bruce Lee. They'd be given titles like The Dragon Lives, Exit the Dragon, Enter the Tiger, The Clones of Bruce Lee. It was pretty tasteless. I'm not saying the movies are necessarily bad because they're capitalizing off of someone's death. I mean, it's definitely a little immoral, but I haven't sat down to watch all of these, so I can't confirm their quality. So at least it's an interesting phenomenon that one of this film's actors happened to partake in. Inframan was Les' first credited movie role too, so it predates all of this. Check out The Dragon Lives again, by the way. I watched it on a whim, and it's amazing.
If we can't rely on James Bond, who's gonna get Bruce Lee?
In very poor taste, but amazing.
Her puss's in this plot too. She was using it to murder me.
You couldn't make a movie with this much disregard for copyright if you tried.
Listen, Dracula, your zombies can't help you.
But we're getting off track. Back to Inframan. All of this is to say that Inframan isn't high art. It's actually better than art. Sure, it's operating on another level of consciousness, which is why the story may seem thin and chaotic to our feeble minds. The characters may also seem to very much be an afterthought, but, I keep saying it, this movie is fun as hell.
Don't heck with the science team!
The dialogue in the English dub is ridiculous, the editing is tight and keeps the pacing quick. Potential legal issues aside, as an Ultraman fan, it's funny picking up on all the music and sound effect reusage. It's a wacky and vibrant hodgepodge of Japanese superhero elements, strung along by energetic Hong Kong action. As a tokusatsu fan looking for something a little different, Super Inframan was an absolute treat. It defies normal analysis. You really need to see it for yourself. Due in part to a theatrical run in the United States, this movie rightfully has a cult following. Even infamously joyless film critic Roger Ebert gave the movie 3 stars, saying, quote, "When they stop making movies like Inframan, a tiny light will go out in the world." Godspeed. The actor for Inframan in both suit and flesh was one Danny Lee. He did not have any familial connections to Bruce Lee, but he did play him in a biopic. He's since made a career for himself, appearing in a number of Hong Kong action films, including 1989's The Killer from director John Woo. So yeah, he did fine after this. Shaw Brothers Studios of course lived on, and continued to legally exist until 2011. Their other big monster epic was Mighty Peking Man, another wild and weird one that I actually covered a couple years ago in a big video talking about monkey movies. It's a King Kong knockoff, but it's a really interesting one. If you can tolerate some needlessly mean-spirited scenes involving an actress wearing an outfit that's way too small for her, I recommend this one. The miniatures are fantastic. Also, hey, there's Danny Lee.
Anything to kill Peking Man. Anything to kill this Peking Man. Kill the Peking Man by any means you can.
Inframan. Yay. It's an oddity, but I'm glad it exists. Derivative and plagiaristic elements aside, this is what a blend of the formats of Kamen Rider and Ultraman looks like. It's realized very well and very entertaining in execution. No one else has summed it up better than James Rolfe.
basically, boom!
Watch this movie in its original widescreen aspect ratio if you can. HD options include a couple Blu-ray releases, but they all appear to be out of print. Otherwise, you can officially check out Inframan at these places for a little pocket change. It's absolutely worth it. Inframan is fantastic. 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10. Check it out. Wow, it's time to do the patron read again. Thank you once again to everyone who's a supporter. And here is a verbal shout out to the biggest patrons. Old Metal Possum, Solid Lib, Dinosaurana, Kadorian, Scooter Jit, Mago Muddy, Lobotomy Blues, Cool Bell Zero, Pack Jeff, Johnny Hedgewolf, Eric Guzda, Janos Firewalker, Easterman, Macho Mantis, Manila Fan, Sampai, Big Dumb Media, Navik15, Jacob Hinch, Dudebro, Alistair Gilmore, Seamus Kelly, Anonymous Euronymous 1349, Fujoshi Urinal, Grazio, Mulan Nguyen, Irrelevant 402, Hey I'm Mooney, Krazak53, Queer Kaiju, Chronicler Wava, Alcoholic Alligators, Ryan Santa Cruz, Avok Robot, The Antagonist, Godzilla Rich, It's Godz, an Actual Dimetrodon, CMG, Red Comet Harry, and Marpzilla. Thank you all very much. Don't explode on your way out.
Boom!
If I get anything wrong, feel free to politely correct me in the comments. Also make sure to smash that like button and subscribe and pledge undying loyalty to me or whatever YouTubers say. Anyways,